Hey everybody, and welcome to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit Tootsie, starring Dustin Hoffman, Jessica Lange, Terry Garr, and Bill Murray. So grab that cute little yellow Halston number and join us.
Hey everyone, and it is Old Roommates. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And we are the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the good stuff, we want to just let you know that we are recording once again in the podcasting studio at What Cheer Writers Club, a nonprofit supporting Rhode Island's content creators. You can visit them online at whatcheerclub.org or stop by club headquarters at 160 Westminster Street in downtown Providence. And Brian?
Yes?
What Cheer Writers Club is not responsible for any content produced in the club studio.
I have said this before, and I'll say I don't blame them.
Neither do I.
It should just say, is not responsible for Christina.
When in the presence of Brian.
So we are discussing Tootsie, 1982.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Ah, damn it all. So it's the same year as E.T. Same year as E.T., same year as Gandhi, because those were the big Oscar nominee situations for that time. And we start, as we always do, talking about then. So Christina, 1982, Tootsie, or rather the first time you saw Tootsie.
Yeah, the first time I saw Tootsie, I think we... it wasn't in a movie theater. I think, actually, I was with probably one of my roommates. I don't know. I don't remember when it was.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. Kristen, if you can't remember then, this is over. If you can't remember then, the whole podcast is done.
I remember how I felt about it. I remember the movie, okay? Jeez, simmer down.
Well, what did you take away from it the first time you saw it?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I loved it. I guess I really liked it. I don't know if I would love. I don't love is the word for it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was unique. I was thoroughly entertained by it. Parts of it I remember being a little bit frustrated with. And
anything specific?
I think maybe the overall, really, they're not figuring this out, kind of vibe. There was a lot that you had to kind of buy into, I think. But overall, I liked it, and I thought it was entertaining to the point where I think that I watched it and recommended it to other people during that time.
Yeah.
I just thought it was, it was a unique story.
Yes. I remember loving it. So I think I just see it on VHS. I mentioned that my dad, on weekends, would rent a bunch of VHS tapes with my sister and my brother, and he was very hands-off. He let us rent whatever we wanted, and Tootsie had been so acclaimed at the time that I rented it. And so I think your words, I really liked it. Even then, I was like, wow, is that an unattractive lady?
Right.
And that was me as a kid. And then the other thing that I didn't really care for, and this is really funny. So when I was a kid, I was in the drama club and all that stuff.
Right.
And I didn't like the sort of drama clubby side of his life. I didn't like those personalities. I didn't like all the scenes where he's yelling at people in the drama class.
Right.
I was like, ugh. Go back to the soap opera. As soon as it focused on the soap opera and only the soap opera scenes, and to the point where, being a kid, I didn't really like Bill Murray. He was just schleppy and
Sure.
I'm like, I like the glamour. Give me the stars. Give me the acting. Give me the TV show. Give me the soap opera. And
that was fun.
Yeah, and that was it. So I really gravitated towards the fun parts of this movie.
I forgot about that
back then.
I forgot about the acting part of it, at the beginning, the acting class part. What's funny now, watching those scenes. I don't know. I think we talked about this before. You don't watch Barry, do you?
No. Oh no, I watched Do you watch all of season 1? I think we
Oh,
watched
you did?
I think we watched...
With Bill Hader?
No, I know what it is.
Well, because you're really confused as to whether you watched it or not. Just want to make sure.
Okay. I've watched several episodes of season 1.
Okay, so did it remind you at all of, like, his acting class and, like, the Henry Winkler,
sure. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
like,
yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when I watched it this time, I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of funny, without it being funny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If maybe I was just comparing it to Barry because I really like Barry. But anyway, I didn't like those scenes this time.
No, I you know what? To me, like, they kind of muted them out a little bit too with the sound. I was like, well, if you're gonna do it, do it. Or, I mean, I don't know if we need like an angry actor montage-y, like, I mean, I guess, well,
right.
or maybe we did. I'm still conflicted by it, even when I watched it now. I was like,
I think it was a little too long. I think that's what it was. Like, if it was a little bit less, I understand what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to show us how difficult it is to be an actor.
In the first
place, yes.
Talent.
Yes.
Then there's the whole other side of it, which is like,
and then even if you are talented, you're too tall,
your
too
agent
short.
Isn't, right. Yeah. So all that stuff you're learning, it doesn't really matter if you're too short, because if your agent can't sell you right, or if your agent isn't a good agent, you're not going to get work anyway. So good luck.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a cold world.
It is a cold, cold world. So I thought maybe it was just too much of that. I wouldn't have minded if it was just like bits and pieces of it. I thought it was effective in showing like how tough it is, though.
Yeah.
For an actor.
Yeah.
So let's just dive in. I guess our shallow dive.
I forgot the big thing for me in the beginning. I forgot how much of a womanizer Michael was.
Oh my gosh!
Did you remember that?
No, I did not remember that at all. My memory of it was he was dating Terry Garr the whole time.
1,000%. Christine, we have the same memory of this movie.
That's hilarious.
I'm sitting there. I was watching with Carl, and I'm like, I totally forgot about these things. Like, he has these awful lines, like these, like, pitch, like, giving these awful pickup lines to these women at his own birthday party. Yeah, these women that Jeff, his roommate, Bill Murray,
who I also forgot was in it.
Oh no, I remember that for sure.
I completely forgot.
But that element, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I caught this now because in the different
makes
parts
more
of
sense.
It makes so much more sense. But I remembered incorrectly. I thought he was with Terry Garr's character, that they were dating. And then I was like, oh shit, it was almost like an accident between friends. Like,
well, it was an accident because he didn't want to be found out.
That's right. Yeah. Like, it was. Yeah, it's still an accident.
Sort of a planned accident. I don't know that he had to sleep.
That was like, really?
Her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could have gotten out of it. I thought, but it's still kind of, it shows his character that's where he ended up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I like, also just really jumping around, I like that scene where she's looking at her boobs. Do you remember when she's like talking, she's like, Michael, are you gonna call me? She's like, I don't know. She's like, well, sometimes I sleep with a guy, and I see him later, and it's like I loaned him money.
Yeah, she's so good in this.
She's great.
She's so good in this. What is a sad character, but she's so good.
Yeah, Bill Murray clearly is ad-libbing his party scenes.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
And this is what time will do.
Mm-hmm.
I found him so funny. And
hilarious. I did too.
He annoyed me as a kid, and I find him so funny now.
I didn't really remember him.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to how I felt about him before. But I think, so Bill Murray's been around so long that I do think that you kind of forget how funny he really is. Because he's, dabbled in some drama, and he really hasn't been too visual as of late. He did a couple things as an older person, but not like the funny kind of wisecracky kind of guy that made him famous. And this brought it back for me. I'm like, that's right. He was funny. There is a reason why I really liked him. Mm-hmm. He had some of the best lines.
He is like this, obviously is like a comedy icon. He doesn't even have to do much, and he's still very in the moment. I mean, but yeah, I just loved those scenes where he's like, I want to own a theater. that only opens when it rains. Just getting people coming into the theater. Like, and he's just like going on. I'm like, this is funny stuff.
Oh my god.
I also love that they are on the theater side of things. So Terry Garr, Bill Murray, Dustin Hoffman,
right?
All those their circle, they're all such a mess, and it is so right. and I definitely didn't catch that when I was a kid, but it's like, oh my god, they're such a mess, and it's so funny. The things they say when Terry Garr's like, "Great party, Michael. My date left with someone else." Like, but just like the dryness and like, but then like just later on, she screams a couple times. Oh,
she's a great screamer.
Great screamer. I love a good scream. And but Bill Murray, they're just all so messy and uncertain, unsure, and it just is so funny.
Right.
It's so
and
good.
you believe it. You believe that they're all friends. I mean, I believed it. It seemed like they had some good chemistry together. Yeah, you're right. They're just a mess. Just a mess.
Jumping a bit, great line when I think the movie does a good job of reminding the audience why Michael's doing this. Mm-hmm. He only wants to make enough money for the play.
Right.
Because he really believes in Jeff's play. And there's one part where like he's reminding Bill Murray like why he's doing this. He's like teasing the wig. And he says, and Bill Murray's like sort of like being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But like kind of like bringing him down. Right. He's like, "I'm doing this for you. Do you know the hardest part about this?" And Bill Murray goes, "Cramps." So good.
He had some great lines. He really had some great lines. What else? Lots of like little cameos from people. Did you catch Gina Davis? I forgot was in that. Yeah. She had a not like a big role, but she was in it enough.
Yeah.
Did you notice Robert Loggia from Big? Loggia? He walked by. He was a party guest, and he had like maybe one line, and he walked right by.
This?
No.
I feel like I would have remembered that.
I'm pretty sure it was him.
I'll believe you. I can't disprove you.
Nobody look it up.
Right
I'm pretty sure it's
now.
true. Right now. Things that made me laugh in the birthday party when they're carrying the cake in, and that very overenthusiastic singer is like blowing out the candles as she's singing.
That is so real. That feels so real. I'm like, I wonder if they meant to do that or if they just left it in. But it was so funny because she's just so tall.
Yes,
and she's great. That's what I mean. That whole circle. I didn't like those scenes when I was young, but I relate more to them now. And just that the messiness of them.
You get that. Yeah, you get it.
It's funny.
You get it. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. But I forgot that that Dustin Michael was so sleazy. And he mumbles so much. Did you catch that?
Yeah.
So mumbly. I'm like, huh? What are you saying?
Other good lines, really quick. Terry Garr, and then we're just jumping, shallow dives only.
Of course, yeah.
So Terry Garr is talking to Dustin Hoffman, or Sandy's talking to Michael, and says, and Sandy's really upset, and she's really second guessing herself in everything she's doing.
Sure.
Her unraveling is just brilliant in this movie.
Good.
And she's like, "It's that soap. It's that soap." And she's like, "By the way, see the cow they hired?"
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so good. Like, I guess the part when it must have gone a different way.
And then he's like,
and he's like, "I actually heard she was okay."
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
She's so good, and she steals every scene. Yeah. I love her.
And this is also when he says he's telling Bill Murray's like, "You have to tell Sandy." He's like, "I can't tell Sandy. Sandy gets suicidal at birthday parties." Yeah. Oh my God, good lines.
And I love that the scene when he's trying to get her mad, like she wants to be mad.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then the best was like when they're done with the practicing whatever, and he's like, basically saying, I can't bring you to the audition or whatever. And she's like, "But how am I going to be enraged?" And he's like, "Fine, I'll pick you up at 10 and enrage you."
Yeah. And and this is PG, and there's the little whispers of when she's getting, he's like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
Oh yes, that's right.
She's like getting ready. She's like, "I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to do this." And he's like, "Fuck off, fuck you." She's like, "Well, thank you for doing this." He's like, "Fuck you." And like, she's like thanking him, and she's thanking him, and he's just telling her to.
Yep. It's and that was funny. It was PG, but it was before the PG-13 rating.
Yes, it probably would have gotten a PG-13 now, I think. Also good lines. I mean, I have a million little lines like this, but Tootsie, or rather, Dorothy Michaels. Yeah. Because it's Michael Dorsey.
Yeah. Dorothy Michaels.
So Dorothy is getting her screen test, and they say, how far back can you... a little more... so I think they're filming something, and she's like, the director's like, a little more... No,
I want to make her look a little more attractive. How far can you go back?
The guy's like, how about Cleveland?
Yeah.
She goes, knock it off. But I loved
she's great.
She's amazing. And I loved her knock it off. Because I feel like most comedies would have ended with "How about Cleveland?" and everyone would have laughed. But she brings it back to that's not acceptable. Like the whole point of this is the whole entire point. And she is a woman in power, and she would not allow such foolishness. And I think a weaker movie wouldn't even have caught that opportunity. Yeah. But they keep bringing it back to this idea about women in the workplace and powerful women and attractiveness levels. And it's done really well. And
it is done really well.
And it, of course, lost on me as a 10-year-old,
right?
Or 11-year-old, but it really is so strong.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was funny because when we had decided to do this movie, I was a little bit nervous about it, and the reason is because they now have a Tootsie musical. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
And it was met with some controversy because of, what it is. It's a man dressing in women's clothing, and I think that some audiences didn't appreciate that, and they felt like it was almost poking fun of, maybe, some transgenders and, things.
Oh,
it was I didn't read too much into the controversy, but there was some real backlash when it first came out. And so I was a little bit nervous watching, thinking, okay, well, I'm going to watch this, and I'm wondering if I'm going to feel that same way. Because I remember liking it a lot, and I'm like, I hope I still like it, and I hope it's not going to, leave a bad taste in my mouth or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I was happy just to realize that I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that it was controversial at all. I really felt like, as a woman, I appreciated it, and there was it was just such great learning moments in terms of a woman. And it was very, almost like Me Too-ish, right? With the workplace, kind of harassment, if you will.
Well, it's all there. It's like Tootsie, sorry.
Tootie.
It's like, Bob's always Bob.
That's a great speech.
That's a great speech.
It's a great speech. Yeah.
And that is a great, to what you just said, that Me Too idea is all we're talking about is just equality.
Just equality. That's
equal, not any special treatment. And this is this idea can paint over any gay, black, whatever. It's it's just about being equal. It's not about anything more. It's just
I don't want special treatment.
It's not being called fucking Tootsie,
right?
Or baby, or sweet cheeks, or whatever. It's or doll face. And it's just be equal. That's it. And but I loved it. And I agree with everything you said, except you of course drew a line in the sand and called yourself a woman, which I think was a little hurtful towards me.
I'm sorry. I will call us both women from now on.
Oh my God! So what else? Let's jump around. Are we jumping around?
Jump around.
So okay. So I have a million nice things, very few negatives, really. One of the funniest scenes, and tell me if I'm wrong on this, because God, I always think I'm alone in this boat. I truly could watch the scene where Dorothy goes over Julie's house and the nanny startles them. So he's talking to Julie as Tootsie. And he's like, oh, where's your little one? And blah, blah, blah. And suddenly the nanny walks out and she's like, the child is asleep. And Dorothy screams. She's like, oh my God. Christina, I could watch that over
and over. That's
really
funny.
It's 4 seconds. And I don't know why I find it, because she is frightening.
Yes,
nanny.
she is. And even she says it after. She's like, she scares me.
She was like, oh, scared the shit out of me. She's like, she scares me half to death. She scared me half to death. Oh, it's so funny.
I forgot about the baby, and I was kind of happy the way they incorporated the child into so many scenes. You don't like it would have been easy for her to be like, "Oh yeah, I have a baby." Show her once, and maybe have that one scene with him trying to take care of her, and never see it again. But they actually brought her out for quite a few scenes up at the lake house that she was, and just sitting on her lap, like not central to the storyline.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought that was a good attention to detail on that.
Yeah. Well, it shows us, like, that Julie has some things at stake here.
Yes.
Like, maybe, it's like she is a single mom, and like, maybe part of, I think it's an added element, like, maybe that's part of why she can't sass back to the director, her boyfriend or whatever. I think it's, there's more at stake. Interesting about Julie, too, you have the baby, but you also have, which I thought was very true, her drinking, which is completely brought up and never resolved.
Never.
She just drinks a lot.
Yep.
And he says, first they're playing around.
Right.
He's trying to get her to a certain point in the acting. And he's like, so I'm going to ask you a question. You just answer naturally. Which, by the way, Jessica Lange, so freaking good in this. And
she's so great.
Natural and relaxed, and just her little facial expressions and her eye contact. She's amazing.
So that
she's
character.
So
she's just that character.
She just feels.
And
so
what's nice
true.
is she's actually great as Julie, and she's also great as the nurse in the soap opera.
Yeah,
and it's two different characters.
She's very good. She won the Oscar for this, for Best Supporting. I don't know if you
I did not know that, but that's great. Well deserved.
Same year she was nominated for Frances. And she won supporting for Tootsie, and I think it's very well deserved.
Yes.
I think it's probably more of a lead actress role.
I would say it's lead.
She went for supporting, but
who was up against her? I mean, it was Gandhi, right? So was there were there strong leads up against her?
Well,
because that would have been strategic.
No. It was strategic because she was up for Frances, so I think the studio was like, put up for Frances.
Oh, I see.
For Tootsie, because you couldn't say she's supporting for Frances since it's Frances. She is Frances. But so Julie, so he says to her, "I'm going to ask you a question." And he says, "Why do you drink so much?" And she's like, and then she answers in the character reading the script,
right?
And then a couple minutes go by, and he's like, "So why do you drink so much?" And she's like, "Because it's not fattening." And it's not good for me. But that, I credit this movie to be like, oh, you know what? She's not going to have a drinking problem story arc, or she's not going to you're not going to see her dumping wine down the drain at the end of this movie. Like, this is something real. Like, she drinks a lot.
Yep. That's why
and it's acknowledged that it's not right, but they're not changing. But
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Like, we're all flawed human beings. We all have our, issues.
Yeah.
Well, at least you do.
Oh my God, that was good. Oh, Christina. Every once in a while, you just make me laugh.
So, so she was great. What did I say? I said pretty good to whispering. Probably
Christina, your notes are the scribbles of a mad woman.
They really are.
I almost want to take a picture and put them on Instagram.
Oh my God! I'll find a good. I'll find a good page.
Just from what I can see.
Every page.
Just from what I can see. I'm going to do it.
I'd be happy to do that.
All right, find some notes while I take a picture.
Oh my God. So let's see. We talked about Bill Murray. We talked about Jessica a little bit, and her daughter. But I felt that one thing. So do we want to go a little bit negative? There is a couple things.
Oh yeah, so I have only a couple negative. I'm just curious to hear your negatives. I think this is a very solid.
It's a very solid movie. Here's my big.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I have talked so much. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So my biggest negative is throughout the movie, Michael did basically everything that Dabney Coleman did. He's disrespecting Terry Garr's character, Sandy. He is ghosting, trying to ghost her. He is hitting on other women on a date with Terry Garr, with Sandy, hitting on other women. These are all the same things that Dabney Coleman is doing. But Michael really never really puts that together. He says that he does say at the end, I'm a better man as a woman than blah, 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 whatever that famous line is that I don't remember. But he never actually, I was waiting for him to be like, crap, I do that same thing. I'm doing that same thing that he's doing. I'm no better than him right now. He never came to that realization for himself. And I was kind of wishing that he had. That recognized himself in that Dabney Coleman character. Because he's such a great, villain. And to be able to see some of himself in that, in his actions. Or at least somehow get called out on it.
It's all very valid. I wonder if it needed to be spelled out. I don't know if it did. I
don't think he ever had that realization. I think I would have bought him at the end going back to her and saying, I'm pointing right at my furiously face. Pointing. I think he would have, it would have been much easier to forgive him if he had actually had that realization. For me.
I don't know if it I completely get it, and I don't know if I needed it spelled out as clearly as you would hope.
Yeah.
For me, I think when he sees Gina Davis's character kissing Dabney Coleman in the background, there was a moment there where I was like, I think he's really getting the mistreatment of women and women that he actually women that he likes, but I feel like that happens in life. Sometimes you see someone and be like, why does it bother me so much? Oh, because maybe it's something I do too.
But see, every time he was bothered, I felt he was bothered because of his feelings for Jessica Lange, not because it was something that he would do. It's not. I didn't feel like he was upset that.
So you thought it was more singular. It was treatment of Julie and not treatment of necessarily women.
Well, I mean, women too, but not he didn't recognize that he did the same stuff. He didn't really recognize that his mistreatment of Sandy is the same as.
Remember though, there's that scene with him and Sandy when Sandy's like, oh, and she's apologizing. And he's like, Sandy, don't apologize. You're mad. You should be mad. Yep. Be mad. And he's like, I'm late. I'm giving you someone else's chocolates or whatever the whole scene is.
Right.
And so I think I think without saying I'm awful, he's realizing that big moment that women are people too.
Yeah. Well, he's treating her a little bit better, I suppose.
He wants her to be stronger. He wants her to stick up for herself.
But he's always wanted that from the beginning, before he even slept with her. Because he's a friend.
He wanted it for her, for the role, for her audition. I think it's there. But you're right. It's not explicitly said in the script. This is what I have learned. And I think that final moment, that final scene where I was a better man as a woman with you than I ever was with a woman as a man, I think that could have been 2 lines longer.
Yeah.
Where he's like, listen, I'm as bad as, what's his face? The Dabney Coleman guy.
Yeah.
As bad as him, and I realize it now.
Right.
Or some, that it wouldn't have hurt the script to include a line like that.
I mean, he could have even had that conversation with the Charles Durning character. He could have had that conversation with him in the bar. He could have had that conversation with Sandy.
With Bill Murray. Could have had the conversation.
He could have had that conversation with, exactly.
He does say, there's sort of an irony in the scene where he's like, he treats her like garbage. He treats her like dirt and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I think Bill Murray does bring up Sandy, which is the connection you're making to this. And it's not, but you're right, it is not explicitly said. But I mean, you hope the audience gets it. But I think what you're saying is you want Michael to get it.
I want Michael to get it. Because I didn't really put that as much together when I had originally seen it as I did this time around. I really noticed it this time around. Oh my God, he's doing the same crap.
Yeah.
They're so similar.
A keen observation.
Thanks.
So can I talk about one negative I have?
Yeah, of course.
Tootsie. It's just boom. He's walking down the street as Tootsie. Do you think we needed a scene where he's putting his makeup on for the first time, or is that just...
Didn't he?
He is putting makeup for a different character. So we've seen him put the mustache on. Remember the mustache?
Oh, right.
It's for an audition. He doesn't, yeah. And so then meaning what we know. We know he has makeup. We know he has access to all these things. Mm-hmm. So it's not that big of a stretch. Maybe we don't need that scene.
Well, when would you have put it on? When would you have put that scene in?
When he's like, no one will hire you. He's like, no, you don't understand. No one in LA wants to hire you either, or whatever.
Right.
And he's like, okay. And then, boom, Tootsie's walking down the street. I wonder if there was any sort of moment where, the actor's looking out the window, or like he's, just like he's frustrated sitting among all of the tools of his trade, all of his makeup and all that. I just...
Not necessarily putting it on.
Maybe not necessarily putting it on.
So I think
because remember
him
something.
not putting it on.
Remember something really quick.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
Really quick. This is before Mrs. Doubtfire. This is before, I guess there's not that many movies, but like,
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire. that it's like, I don't know, for all the little montages this Tootsie already has in this movie, would it have been? The montage comes later where he's like on magazines. That's my other negative.
Yeah, I got a negative. So I think that it would have taken away from the sort of that surprise look at who he is now. Like, for one thing, we've already seen him put makeup on.
True.
So we don't need to see that scene again. I wonder if there's a deleted scene, maybe, and someone said that's redundant or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do feel like just showing him, it's more of that sort of surprise thing. Like, you don't really know what he's going to do at that point. We know because we've seen the movie before.
Yeah.
But we don't really know. When they're writing the movie, the audience allegedly doesn't know what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you see him putting makeup on, then you kind of know what's going to happen next.
I love the shot of Tootsie walking down the street. Mm-hmm. But to your point about, do we need that scene? It's just it's abrupt.
Quick.
It's abrupt.
Yeah.
It's like no one will hire you. Boom. I again, just something. I don't need to see.
I'm laughing because I'm remembering him saying, "No one plays a vegetable like me." Right? It was something like that.
It was the tomato thing.
A tomato, yeah. He was like, I played a tomato.
A big, juicy, yeah. But here's the thing. I didn't like that.
Well, I thought it was funny because he was so passionate about it. Like, it's almost like he's not even understanding what he's saying. Like, are you listening to your words?
I almost wished it wasn't as funny.
Yeah.
I wish the dialogue wasn't as... It was
maybe a little bit.
It was trying too hard to be funny.
That's true.
Okay, let's see. So my other big negative is his Dorothy's meteoric rise.
That's my other negative also.
Much. I think this is 2 weeks.
If that.
There's a point in the movie where Julie says, these last 2 weeks, and I'm like, 2 fucking weeks? He's been on TV Guide, People. Andy Warhol is doing photo shoots with him. He's on the cover of New York Magazine. Like, how?
Yeah, it's too much. They
could have just said, they showed the fan mail coming in. That's enough. They showed the fan mail pouring in. That is plenty. That's all you need. You don't have to do
or
this
at least
montage.
Say it was a month or something. Like, I mean, how quickly do you? First of all, how quick do they pump out these episodes?
Well, it's a soap opera, so it's daily.
Right? It is daily, but I mean, okay. So I'm a Days of Our Lives fan.
Oh, here we go.
And they tape like 6 months in advance. I think that's extreme in itself, but they've got to tape. At least other shows must be 3 months in advance or something.
6 months in advance? Mm-hmm. No.
Go look it up. That I know of. Don't mess with me and my Days of Our Lives information.
Wow.
6 months in advance.
Oh,
so I think they
wild.
just recently shortened it a little bit because they had that whole, everybody's been fired. Remember that whole thing? But it wasn't. It was just they took them off contract so they could like squeeze up the time a little bit.
And also, the thing you have to remember, the reason why this montage bothered me is that we don't see Dorothy. Did I sound okay? Mm-hmm. Something just weird in my headphones.
I just shut off your microphone.
Dorothy, Dorothy Michaels isn't giving interviews.
Right.
We don't see her on a talk show.
Right.
So this is why I call bullshit on this montage, because this is all about her character.
Right.
And that's why it gets a little confusing. It's just unnecessary. It's not necessary.
Yeah, I just thought it was too much, that she was so, yeah, exactly. It was too fast. And who are they writing the checks out to?
Oh, well, the money would go, I believe,
to the agent?
Goes to the agent.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes to the,
it would make sense because he's the only other one that knows.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
Funny casting.
Mm-hmm.
Who appeared in the dance hall?
Who appeared in the dance
so
hall? Is this the place that I thought was Jean Smart?
No. So he's dancing as Dorothy. He's dancing with Charles Durning.
Oh, Estelle Getty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. She's
she's
everywhere.
Too, I know. Did you see how she's credited in the credits?
No.
Middle-aged woman.
Wow. So that's... I'm not sure how I feel about that coming from a middle-aged lens.
Other things I loved. Sandy's scream when Michael says, "Sandy, I'm in love with another woman."
Oh,
and
she's
like,
so good.
What are you
so good. Was she up for anything? She wasn't up for anything.
Supporting.
She was
for this,
okay,
yeah.
but yeah.
She's amazing in this. She's not, and she was. I mean, God. Now that I think about it, she was also. I mean, she's always fantastic. She's really, really good in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh yeah,
she has
yeah.
amazing scenes in there. But okay, Julie's. Okay.
No, I was going to say there's so many notes in here that's just saying that he is so mean. He just needs to break up with Sandy. I felt so much empathy for Sandy.
Me too.
In this whole movie. Like, how can you forget, like, how can you be, like, what was it, 4 hours late for dinner or 2 hours late for dinner? I just felt really bad for her. And I didn't understand, like, just break up with her.
Right.
Just break up with her. You're not doing any.
She consistently says, "I'm a professional. I'm a professional actress." Like, and he could, because she is. He could have broken up with her. No, they would have been fine.
They would have been fine.
But you needed that extra tension.
But then also, and here's another comparison, because the Dabney Coleman character, which I wish I could remember his name, he actually said something like, talking about the Jessica Lange, like, "Oh, I wouldn't want to hurt her feelings. She does it, about breaking up with her." I forget who he was talking to. Was he talking to Michael? I don't know if he was talking to Michael. He was having a conversation with somebody and saying, "I don't want to break up with her because it's going to hurt her or hurt her feelings." Yeah. And that's the same conversation he had with Bill, Bill Murray saying, "I don't want to break up."
Birthday parties.
That's what I mean. Like, there was so many similarities between him, and I just wish that had been noticed. I'm going to stop talking about that now.
But I think well, you noticed it.
But him noticed it.
Oh, Michael, yeah.
Him noticed it. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. It apparently hit a nerve with me. And what else?
I loved Julie's thoughtful little speech in the dressing room when she's talking to Dorothy, and she's essentially says, I really love you, Dorothy, but I just can't love you."
That was she handled that very well.
Yeah, I thought that was really well written, and it's movie-ish, but didn't feel movie-ish.
Yeah, it didn't feel right that he would lean in to try to kiss her as Dorothy. It just didn't feel like, because when he was Dorothy, he was Dorothy.
Yeah.
He's an actor.
Like losing himself a minute.
It didn't seem right that he would forget.
Yeah.
And start to try to kiss. It just didn't seem right for me. I didn't like it back then. I didn't like it now.
And it added a layer of this like lesbian panic, right? Like after it happened, she's like, she can't answer the phone. She answers the corn thing, whatever it is. But she does say, she's like, "I'm so grateful to have you as a friend, but I've never felt so alone in my life." And then she says, "It's like I want something that I can't have." And I think he's like, it was certainly poor judgment.
Of course, yeah.
But I didn't find it that ridiculous that he would try that.
I just didn't think
he would lose himself for a second. Yeah.
I will say I liked the change of scenery when they went to the the cabin.
I appreciated that. Yeah.
I really thought it was necessary. Like, I just really appreciated it, just that change, and I really liked that montage. The All of My Life song.
Very sweet.
That was beautiful. I liked how they did that with like just the different scenes of her with him and with the the baby was there, and I thought that was nice. And I forgot about that song. It's such a pretty song. It's a really pretty song.
It is a pretty song.
I do think that he should have seen Charles Durning's character's interest coming. Like, I thought that was a little bit naive, that he didn't see that he was interested in him.
Oh, see, I think he noticed that, but the proposal is like out of control.
Oh, that's so still
ridiculous. I mean, how fast?
And then you find out he never even kissed her.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then he's going to ask her to marry. Like,
yeah. Well,
that was a bit much.
Speaking of kissing, I'm so glad that George Van Horn or whatever his name is, she does a great job of avoiding the kiss, and he does kiss her.
That was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
Although that's sexual assault.
Yes, but I also do think that the proposal was ridiculous. But how else would he have gotten back together with the father
without the ring
at the end? Like, he needed a reason
for sure.
Yeah.
The how much? Do you have much more? Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break.
All right,
let's take a little break. We'll be right back.
We're back with more Tootsie.
Hey there, it's Brian and Christina. We just wanted to take this break to thank you for listening to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pulp culture through a middle-aged lens. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating and review while you're there.
If you have any questions, comments, or observations, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Old Roommates. Thanks for listening, and now, back to the show.
And we're back talking about Tootsie. And what else do you want to say about that, Mr. Macefield?
Thank you. Before we get to the questions, the only other thing I have is talking about the ending. And this is not like the big grand ending with the reveal.
Yeah.
It's more so about after that. Like, I felt like this movie was very, very thoughtful with all of its characters. Mm-hmm. It gave them all like purpose and intention and emotions. And then after that wig is ripped off and everyone sees what's going on, it forgets about all of them.
Yeah.
Honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, and I was so surprised. I was like, it is as abrupt as I remember. Yeah. It's like, what about the show?
Right.
The entire show.
Right.
What about, well, we know that Bill Murray and Terry Garr's character, and Dustin, they do the love canal or whatever. But it just seems like it
is weird how she punches him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jessica
right.
Lange punches him, and then that's it. Like, no other reaction from the cast, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's just done.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is weird that they don't really talk about that. Like, there must have been some... I mean, why isn't he sued?
Even Sandy, and sure, she says, I'm a professional actress and all that, but it's like... Bill Murray knew, so mm-hmm. that's sort of a non-starter. But there's just, like, other things. And, like, what does that do to the show? Like, It was on a high, and now... And
he needs to come back to, like, explain himself on the show, I would think.
Yeah.
They can't just end it at that.
Yeah. And I would honestly wonder, and, like... if the fans would be like, oh my God, this is the most craziest thing ever. We want more of him.
Right.
Like, so would he really give it up and go to the play? Maybe he would.
Maybe he would.
Because he wanted, I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, maybe the writers even knew how messy it would be.
Yeah.
So they didn't even address it.
It would have been a lot more, I think. It wouldn't be just like one or two lines. It might have to be a little bit more
it's
than that.
just so abrupt. I mean, so it happens and he talks to Charles Durning
mm-hmm.
and then he confronts Julie. And then
I do love when he's walking past the mime
and just pushes
him over. That's funny.
Yeah.
Before we get to the actual end, I do have. There was one the baby scene. I thought was funny when he was with the baby mm-hmm. taking care of her. Just in that he is like, I don't like you, and like saying things like. He's trying to, clean up, and he's looking in the mirror, and he's like, "See that baby? See what a bad girl looks like." Like, And then when she comes back, he's like, "Oh, it was no trouble at all."
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. And then I forgot about the doctor hitting on him, like coming to the apartment.
Oh, right. No, I didn't forget about that.
I forgot about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. He was almost. And then she's just like, He's like, oh, rape is not a funny thing. Like he would have been raped. Like, and it probably would have been. Like that was the whole thing.
The funny thing about that is like when the reveal happens, Van Horn says, "Does Jeff know?"
Oh yeah, I know.
He actually has two.
That's right.
He actually is. Oh, and then Debbie Coleman says, "I knew there was a reason she didn't like me." Like,
right.
The reactions are just very,
they are
very,
funny.
very funny.
I am happy that they left the relationship open-ended, in that you don't really know if they're going to start dating, or if they're just going to be friends, or if obviously she's forgiven him.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know where it's going to go. You don't, it's not like a big kiss. Yeah. They just start walking down the street and you get the sense that they're going to at least try to be friends. But I like that you don't know if they're going to try a relationship.
And it goes right back into the song, which the first word is time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they just need a little time.
Maybe they just need a little time. I also appreciated the credits rolling.
Yeah.
Did you notice they were separate?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So they were separate so that you can see the people walking, and I really, really liked that. And
if you think about that, it's like we met Tootsie or Dorothy, saying Tootsie, when she's walking down the street in the middle, and then it ends with the two of them walking in the other direction together. Oh. And I think that was sweet.
That is sweet. I didn't even catch that.
I will say something with Dabney Coleman. I wrote it down. Where is it? I really liked when so they have to record that ending live, right?
Right.
And so he's like, and he's like, and all of you, and she wanted to do this, but on her terms. And Dabney Coleman's like, oh Jesus, here come the terms.
He had some good lines. He was good in that. He's a good villain.
He is a good villain. Anyway, that's all my notes.
That's all my notes.
So did you liked it more, the same?
I think I liked it more.
Yeah,
I do, because I noticed a little bit more. I mean, obviously, just a couple things I was disappointed about, but I did like it. I liked it more. I forgot about a lot of it. What about you?
I really liked it, and it was interesting because I did a little bit. So on the DVD, you can see filmographies and all that. And really, Jessica, Dustin, and Sidney Pollack all had, leading up to this movie, they had very dramatic filmographies and experiences before Tootsie. So it was good to see these dramatic people really doing great comedy, and the timing is so good and Sidney Pollack plays the agent, and he's the director of this, so just very, very, very good stuff.
Very good. I do have to give a little shout out to one of my friends.
Oh my god!
So Lauren,
she
is one of our biggest fans. She listens to us, and so I went over to her house the other night just to kind of hang out, and I had suggested I had this movie, and I needed to watch it. I said, hey, do you want to watch it with me? And so she was actually going to watch it with me. We had watched it together when we were roommates, and I guess I introduced it to her or whatever. But she was all in. She was very excited to watch it with me, and I thought that was really cool. And but her DVD player wasn't really cooperating with us, so we weren't able to watch it. But I do want to give her a big shout out for at least being willing to do that for me. She's like a great friend and a great fan of the show.
Wow. Some might question, if she's such a good friend, why did you give her the shout out at the end of the episode? You should have said thank you to her an hour ago.
You know what? Maybe I will
re-edit.
Debit a little bit. Debit?
Debit.
Edit. Whatever.
But all right, so now it's time for questions. Christina, should I go first?
Yeah, why don't you go first?
All right, it's a fuck, marry, kill. FMK. Okay, now these are should we do characters or the actors?
Your choice.
Damn. Let's do characters so you understand their personalities a bit.
Okay.
So, Jeff Slater, played by Bill Murray. Michael Dorsey, played by Dustin Hoffman.
Okay.
Director guy, played by Dabney Coleman.
Oh, okay. Let me think about this for a second. I think I would...
Oh, I should probably write it down.
Oh, yeah, you want to write your guess? I know what I want. I know what I'm going to do.
This is very easy, actually.
Yeah, it's not that bad. So I would kill Dabney Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
I would F Dustin. Michael.
I'm wrong.
Guess it wasn't so easy after all. And I would marry Bill Murray's character.
Interesting.
Michael would annoy the living F out of me.
True.
He would, like, spending 5 minutes in a room with him alone, he would drive me crazy with all of his... He's just too focused on his acting.
Oh, my gosh. You're right.
Yeah. I think in Bill Murray, Jeff, he's funny, super easygoing. I mean, you know, he seems like he doesn't seem motivated, but he wrote a play.
Yeah.
You know, like he has something going for him.
There's something that's almost the reason why, like, I was like, ugh, do I want, like, it's really, they're almost very opposite because Jeff's very lethargic.
Yeah.
And Michael is very manic. And,
Yes.
I mean, obviously you kill Dabney Coleman, of course.
Yeah, there's like an obvious, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah, it'd be kind of a tough choice for me, too.
Yeah.
But I did think for you, I don't know why I thought you'd marry Michael.
Oh, he would drive me crazy.
Yeah, you're right, he would.
Yep, I know.
And how about you?
So my question to you is, so at the end, Julie forgives Michael.
Yeah.
My question to you is, would you forgive Michael for all he has done at the end with that little tiny itty-bitty speech?
So this is easy for me, no.
No, I wouldn't either.
No, and I understand that Julie is not me, and she is a character, and she's, you know, and again, we're seeing snippets of their 2 weeks together.
Right.
They're working together every single day, hang out almost every single night.
Yep.
She's his confidant. She needs him. She trusted him. She relied on him. Now the trust is broken, but she still needs him.
Her only friend.
Really her only friend.
Yeah.
Besides the nanny, who is terrifying.
Horrible. That's a friend.
But I know. So for me, I would not. Not initially.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just too. I would just be too.
I think for you, once
you know why? The dad. I wouldn't want him manipulating.
Right. Although I think that's why they put that scene in where they forgave them each other.
Yeah, that's true.
They had to throw that in there.
But I wouldn't have liked it. I wouldn't have liked someone like misleading my mother.
Right.
And then being like, wait a minute, oh my God, because it's not just me. You dicked over like my coworkers,
everybody,
my family,
yep.
like my child.
And if I know
babysat and drag,
seriously,
I would have a hard time forgiving.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. I feel the same way.
Because remember, she didn't know him at all before this show. That's a hard thing. Yeah. I don't know.
Did you find it funny too? One other thing, and then we can end this episode. Yeah. But when he hit on her in the party,
yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember the conversation they had beforehand, and I remember him trying it out on her. But what's so funny is my memory was that he actually knew her to some degree. Like, it was weird that was the one and only conversation they had. Like, they hadn't even had a conversation leading up to his little sleep with me speech.
Yeah.
And he was surprised that she hit him.
But remember, she's like, you know what? I wish.
Yes, I remember.
He was, and he's like, she's like, all I want is someone to just come right up to me and say, listen.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't say the exact
He does not
quote,
say the right.
Because he says, right, because there's a line before that he kind of leaves out.
Which is important. It's an important line.
He's like, I could give you all the lines and all the BS. Mm-hmm. He's like, but we're both adults. Like, whatever. And,
right.
Anyway.
But anyway, all right. And that is that.
And that is it for us in this episode of Old Roommates. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a rating or review while you're there, please. We love our ratings.
If you have an idea for the show, a suggestion, or a comment, email us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Old Roommates. This is Christina.
This is Brian.
Thanks again for listening. Till next time.